Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get matched down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch.
A merch indeed. The child should lead them. What?
Oh, just funny how it's always the same.
People like that. It gives them a sense of normalcy.
Sense of security.
Sense of
Use
security.
the mirror option and flip our sides right now, babe.
What'd you say?
I said use the mirror option and flip our sides.
Oh, yeah. That'll further traumatize people. Further traumatize people. Okay, guys.
Remember when you did that and people were like, it feels like mom and dad are getting divorced?
Yeah. A fucking terrible metaphor. All right, guys. At Vita Zane, we have reached the end, my friends.
The last and final song for the birthday boy.
We have reached the end for the birthday boy. Shout out to the big homie Perkinos. I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, but he wouldn't say perk out. So now this is your punishment. You're going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life, my G.
You know what's funny? It's like he's literally almost smack dab in the middle of us and Dorian.
Yeah. Yeah, he's right there.
So wait, is he closer in age to him or us? Let's just start this song. He's closer to Dorian.
Yeah. Okay, guys, here we go. Final song of the entire channel. We really loved you guys. Thank you guys so much. This is our final song for today. All right. I don't think we're going to be smiling at this one. Necros, Christos, I am Christ. Let's go. That's about what I expected.
raining the abyss. Stigma. Seven. From 3 to 9. The cross is mine. Venus' kingdom hallowed him. The horrors at Bethlehem. A cherubim sign in vain. Islam came with to the gate. Tears of fear shed by his to meet him. As he cried blood and God delivered him.
Whoa. You gotta really know your Bible to understand what this guy's saying.
Words only and nefarious is the value of thy cross. You save, you save. You saved us. The crown, the crown. You are the crown.
bum, 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 bum. Okay, so that was the last song, I Am Christ. Obviously, as Christians, I disagree with a lot of the lyrics here. However, look, there's more to a song than the lyrics, right? There's also the soundscape that was created. Apparently, according to Perk, the guy here is, I don't know if he's a Christian, but he says he believes in God and Christ. But then he's saying this kind of stuff, which... Again, if as an artist, you know what people want to hear and things of that nature, and maybe there's stuff that he's got to work out, for himself. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny because I was a little confused lyrically where he stood. There was something that except for when he said "I am Christ," I'm like, okay, well then no, but then there was other stuff.
So I've been having a side conversation with some folks, and this is always fun. So
all right, well.
So River Roth says, "Plenty of gods die and come back. Balder dies and comes back. Ragnarok, Odin, hang from the world tree as a sacrifice to come back." Okay, here's a flaw in that kind of an analogy. Nobody believes at a scientific secular level that Odin actually walked the earth. Jesus of Nazareth is an actual historical figure.
Right.
He actually was crucified under Pontius Pilate. These are actual human beings that actually walk the earth. So I'm not talking about a concept. I'm not talking about a concept of dying and rising gods, even though a lot of the supposed parallels there are ridiculous. I was talking to, what's his name, Seth Andrews? I said, don't do it! You remember that? I said, don't do the zeitgeist thing, Seth. Don't do it!
Yeah.
And he didn't. He backed off of it. Shout out to the homie.
He got wise, real wise.
Guys, we're dealing with an actual historical figure, okay? And he was actually crucified. That's actually corroborated. And he was also labeled a god, and there is a rumor that he resurrected from his folks. Vlad was saying that this is a normal thing. This happens all the time. I said, Vlad, get me one example of a Jewish person who made messianic claims that died under Roman power that had a movement after.
Jambi's going to bring the information for him.
If we wait for Vlad and River to produce an analogy, all of us will become skeletons. There is none. What I think people need to understand is that you have got to understand the expectation that people had of Jesus at the time. They were under Roman occupation. People have to understand that. Just 150, 200 years previous to that, they were under the occupation. Remember, after Alexander the Great, he died, and then he distributed. You had Antiochus Epiphanes. You had this non-Jewish person that was terrorizing the Jewish people, occupying them, heavy taxes, executing them, that type of thing. And what happened was Judas Maccabeus and those boys got together, and, the Maccabean revolt, right, which is Maccabeus basically means the hammer. And they cleansed the land of Antiochus and his folks, and then I'm pretty sure it was Judas Maccabeus who rode into Jerusalem after cleansing the land on a donkey with palm trees. Okay, so you have to understand that that's why there were two Judases on Jesus's team, because all the Jewish moms were naming their kids Judas,
right?
Because they were hopeful that their kid would be able to be the next Maccabean revolt to overthrow the Romans. So when Jesus shows up and he claims he's the Messiah, even his closest followers, all the be nice to people shit and all that, they were like, yeah, we'll do all that shit after we kill the Romans, bro. And that's why the very night...
do you think that's what they were thinking?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
This is all for after?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. What they were thinking was, this is all for after, and this is all for us after we get rid of these nasty-ass Gentiles. Even after Jesus rose from the dead, that's what people were saying. Are you now going to restore the kingdom to Israel?
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
They were not, globalists as far as what they thought religion was. They were very ethnocentric.
Yeah.
And so, that's the seats in Laban. That's the situation in life, is that you're under Roman authority. About 150, 200 years ago, there was a guy who overcame an oppressive Gentile, and he wasn't even the Messiah. That guy wasn't even the Messiah. So if you're saying you're the Messiah, at minimum, you need to destroy these Romans. Really, if you look at some of the intertestamental literature, he's supposed to take over the whole damn world and enslave the entire world.
Yep.
There was this really interesting Mishnah where it says the older will serve the younger. Jacob's written. Basically, the rabbi goes, well, the first guy, Adam, was not part of the children of Israel, so he represents all the Gentiles. So when it says the older will serve the younger, They're saying we're the younger brother. They're saying we Jews are the younger brother, and the Gentiles are the. So they're going to slay. So that was the expectation. So for Jesus to be crucified naked under Roman power, and for him to have a massive following 60 days later that dwarfed anything that he had at the height of his popularity while he was alive, has got to be dealt with. Mm-hmm. There is no historical analogy for that. Not one. Not even close. So that's what I'm saying. Deal with that. We're talking about a historical person. We're not talking about, Ragnarok and Thor and all that. We're talking about an actual human being that actually walked the earth. Okay? That's what we're saying. So
yeah, and it's obviously not just Christian literature that shows that he walked the planet.
Correct. So
even people hostile to the gospel.
So here's Vlad. Vlad says it's irrelevant. Okay, Vlad, if you think that's irrelevant, if you can look at that historical data, and the best that you can say is, well, it's irrelevant. Okay, I disagree with you. I think that Jesus' movement exploded after he died is a historical anomaly that none of you have been able to deal with. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can come on now, Vlad. We can have a conversation about it. I don't have a problem with that. So, or River, you come on. You can come on. We can have a conversation. Like, I don't have a problem. Let's talk.
Or both of you come on.
Don't complain. Yeah, you both can come on. Don't complain that people are putting words in your mouth. You can put your own words in there and let the audience decide for themselves. Look, here you go, River. You can come on, and then boom, you can come on, and then you can shoot your shot, my guy. Yeah. I don't care if there's no analogy. Okay. So what you're saying is there's this historical anomaly that has never been done before or since, and you don't care about it. So that tells me that facts are not the only reason for people's belief or unbelief, which I have said a million times, and which is being demonstrated. That people say things like, oh, well, what about Thor and all the rest of it? Mm-hmm. And then when it's clearly shown that's a ridiculous argument, then we say, well, we don't care. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. That's okay. Do it. Okay, Vlad. Okay, let's go with that, Vlad. Let's go with that. The fact that people believe something doesn't make it a fact. I'm not doubting that many believed it to be the case. Okay, Vlad, let's keep going with that. Were the first Christians making belief claims or fact claims? Did the first Christians say, we believe Jesus rose from the dead? Or did the first Christians say, we ate with him, we touched him, we saw him?
Yeah.
Because those are completely different, right? Like Muhammad, he went on this night journey. He got on this mystical animal, and Allah took him to the seven heavens, and he had this giant tour or whatever, right? And then Abu Jahil went to Abu Bakr, which was Muhammad's right-hand man, and said, do you hear what your man is telling everybody? And Abu Bakr said, no, tell me, what did he say? He said, well, Allah gave him some magical beast. He went from Hashem to Jerusalem in one night, and then he came back, which is obviously impossible aside from Allah's working. Abu Bakr says, if he said that, I believe him. That's Abu Bakr saying, I believe in the trustworthiness of Muhammad. Yep. That is not what the first Christians were saying. The first Christians were saying, we didn't believe that he rose from the dead. As a matter of fact, when the women showed up and told the men, which again, Vlad, you have to explain that. Mm-hmm. When the women showed up and told the men, they believed that it says in the text that they're basically old wives' tales. They didn't believe them because they were all misogynist, sexist bastards at the time. And so the reaction of the disciples to the women is an honest take. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. They're not saying they believe Jesus. They said that they saw him and ate with him.
That's a
and then they sealed that testimony with their own blood. Okay? So
and the blood of their family members.
And the blood of their family members, correct. So if you're saying that happens a lot in history, then okay, give us the examples of it and we'll chop it up. We'll talk about it. How does... So you believe you'll have an ego after death. My conviction is that we won't be ourselves and that it's ridiculous to conceive of an experience of death.
An ego? Wait, where did he get ego after death from?
Well, what he's talking about is
after you die, will you have a consciousness of yourself? Is there going to be a continuation of what makes you you, right?
Yep.
Is there going to be a continuation of that after death? And I would say,
I think so.
Alan, since ego is directly related to consciousness, and the folks on your team, and no disrespect, but the folks on your team can't even begin to tell us where consciousness came from, or even construct an idea of how we derived consciousness, I would say that if I held to your worldview, I couldn't speak so confidently about anything relative to the ego or anything, because the first, you don't have an understanding of the first thing of consciousness. So how could you make that statement? And I, notice, I'm not saying like there isn't some scientific discovery. What I'm saying is your base presupposition militates against any sort of rational understanding of how we got to consciousness in the first place. Because unfortunately, AT, what you're going to have to say is that matter, that consciousness somehow got booted up out of matter. And as Don Hoffman says, that's just impossible. It's irrational. It's like a square circle. That's my contention. Maybe it was a double buff with the women thing. How can you possibly make a judgment call? Okay, all right.
A double buff.
A double buff with the women thing.
Wait, what does that mean? A double buff? I don't even understand what that means. You're talking about the first people to Jesus for him to show himself to. Jesus showed himself to were women. So if you were going to make up a religion, their testimony was not worth the same as a man at that time.
Correct.
And so if you were going to make up a religion, everybody knows that you wouldn't have had him actually talk to a woman first, because that invalidates your religion. You wouldn't even
use women today.
Right. Well, yeah,
people
probably.
don't even listen to women today.
You're right. So the only reason you would put that in your text is if it was actually what happened. And if it was that you were outside of the guidelines of what was approved and not approved in culture.
I have never heard even an attempt to explain why the disciples. So let's gather around and create this fantastical story that a guy was crucified publicly, rose from the dead. How are we going to do it? How are we going to make it believable? I know. Let's get women.
Was it? It was Mary, though. Was it the Mary that had the demons in her?
Yeah.
So that's even more like.
They had Joseph of Arimathea on the team.
Yeah.
They had Nicodemus on the team. Just say that Joseph of Arimathea discovered
rich
Jesus
man,
risen from the dead. It was his grave, right?
Yeah.
And you could easily have him strolling to check out his grave, and then he ran into Jesus. Joseph was a high-standing guy that would have gave a lot of credibility to their movement, and yet, no, let's go with women, and then let's go with a woman who had severe mental issues. She was demon-possessed.
That makes sense.
I'm sorry. I haven't even seen anybody attempt to try to explain it.
Yeah. Moving right along, babe. He's trying to get on. Trying to get on.
Sure. River, yeah. River usually comes on. River doesn't do the drive. River is no Jambi.
But we love Jambi.
River is no... Shout out to... Yes. Shout out to Jambi. Joseph of Arimathea is a thing. Fact. Correct. It's a fact. Why not have Joseph of Arimathea discover the resurrected Christ? Why women? And why women with mental issues? Where people could easily dismiss them. You're saying that these guys created the largest religion in the world. They planned this and they had women be the first ones to view the resurrection? I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need an explanation, bro.
I mean, even their own people didn't believe them.
And now look. All one at a time doesn't have to make sense logically. Humans don't even act logically. The game of life is never finding the answer. Just do what you enjoy before you die. Okay, Alan, thank you. That's very, very honest of you. You're not operating from a logical perspective. You're operating from a hedonistic perspective. You want to do what you want to do before you die. That's very honest. And I appreciate that kind of honesty. That's Romans 1, though, right? That's Romans 1.
Did you see that?
Jambi's name has almost become a slur.
Yeah, no, I hear what you were just saying. I mean, it was a very honest thing to say. We appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, that he's being honest. He's like, man, all this shit, I don't want to be logical. I agree, and that's why I'm saying like
logic and reason is not
River. He's gonna post it again. I think
not the ultimate way people come to their worldviews. It's just not. And if you think that, then you're naive. And I mean that for everybody, Christian, non-Christian, whatever. There are benefits to believing the Christian story. There are also benefits to pretending there is no God. There's benefits all around. I could still see you, Riv. I'm not saying that was the case. I'm saying we don't know enough about their beliefs to make a sound judgment call. Okay, that's fair. It depends on what you call a sound judgment call, Vlad. When I see something that has never happened in history before or since, and when I see a movement that has literally everything stacked against it, the Jewish side, the Gentile side, the gender side, the historical side, like everything is stacked against Christianity spreading. Mm-hmm. And it's a singular moment in history that's never been replicated. Mm-hmm. I mean, after Muhammad died, the first war that Abu Bakr had to deal with was the Ridda Wars, which were the wars of apostasy, because as soon as Muhammad died, they were like, all right, we're done. Mm-hmm. And Abu Bakr had to go in there and slay a bunch of people and burn down a couple villages in order to keep people in the Islamic faith, right? So I hear these things a lot, and then when they actually get examined, we default to saying things like, well, we don't have to rely on logic. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You have to contend with that in your own mind, though, if you're going to just excuse something that ginormous. Because...
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
River, there's something wrong with our interview thing, River. So do me a favor, send me an email, and I'll give you... Well, actually, no, I'll just reload Skype again. So call me on Skype. It would be better if people could see your beautiful face. We know that, but call me on Skype. Meanwhile,
I know, that sucks.
Here's BC with the Gnosticism. If God created the universe, he is an evil thing. Okay, so we're gonna call. So River's gonna call me. He and I are gonna have a conversation. But I do want to talk a little bit about the song.
Okay, I do have to say one thing about that.
I do want to talk a little bit about the song. But yeah, River, we'll jump on for sure.
When I have conversations with the kids and we kind of have those discussions about like what was just said, if God created the universe, he's an evil thing.
Yeah.
This idea that if you just step back and you say for a second, okay, God really does exist. He's infinite. He's beyond all of this. He's more than everything that we know. Then how could a human being even possibly think that they could contend with God and look at God and say, this is wrong, or this or that thing makes you evil? You can't even pull yourself back from the situation and look at it from a logical standpoint because you don't have all the facts. So I think that while I understand why people say stuff like that, I do think it's an emotional statement, because if you just had to sit there and think logically, you could not know that information because you don't know everything and you can't see everything. And even just this world is more than we can comprehend. We haven't even gotten to the depths of the ocean, and there's undiscovered things on our own planet, never mind other places. So I think it's just a kind of and I have these conversations with the kids because they have their opinions about different things. And I'm like, how could you possibly, you don't know what's going on, what's bigger than that and what's beyond that. And I just think it's a very interesting statement to make when you don't have all the facts. So
Vin, do you also believe the vampire counts of the Middle Ages that came from whole families at a time? They all said they saw the recently deceased come back from the dead. Well, there's a couple things, right? one is that one of the reasons we had a wake was because people at that time in that particular region were terrible at judging whether or not people were actually dead.
Oh,
that's why you had a wake in the first place.
For real?
Yeah.
So they could make sure?
Yeah. So they did an exhumation one time. There are all these
use claw marks inside the
claw marks. Yeah. So they were not very good. The Romans were experts at diagnosing death. That's one, especially if you were crucified. I mean, they had it down to a system. As I said in an earlier review, the Romans did not invent crucifixion. I think it was the Persians, but the Romans perfected it. Mm-hmm. They had doctors there, and they could tell when you were dying, and they could tell. That's why Jesus, he wasn't able to carry his own cross, because a lot of people died from the scourgings at the beginning from hypovolemic shock. So when you talk to me about folks in the Middle Ages who were not as educated, and this is kind of ironic too, because you would have figured that people in the Middle Ages would be more educated, but that's not true. A Roman doctor was way more educated, and you had a better shot surviving from a Roman doctor than you would from some guy in Europe in the Middle Ages. That's just a fact. So number one, there's a clear naturalistic explanation for why people saw people rise from the dead in the Middle Ages. Number two, what costs were paid by the people who made such a statement? In other words, if I say, I saw my little brother rise from the dead, or my mom had a miscarriage.
Right.
My mom had a miscarriage. Let's say it that way. If I say I saw my my brother, or my sister, my baby sister, rise from the dead, or whatever. Okay, what happens to me after? Well, in America, when somebody says that, they end up on a TV show. Mm-hmm. So there is a incentive to lie. Mm-hmm. But if in the Middle Ages, and this might be true, if in the Middle Ages, if you made such a claim, they would drag you naked into an arena and then have you eaten alive by animals, or you get crucified and light up, you get pitch thrown on you, and then you get set on fire while nails are through your hands and your feet, and you're writhing in agony, and you look over and you see your wife, all because you told this lie about seeing your or even the truth. I'll tell you what, even if I saw my baby brother, if that was a societal consequence, I'd just shut my mouth. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to die over some dumb shit like that. Mm-hmm. And if you find one person that's willing to die over dumb shit like that, you're not going to find hundreds and thousands of people to do that. Mm-hmm. So one, I probably actually believe the accounts of people rising from the dead in the Middle Ages. But even if I did, that's not an analogy to the resurrection of Jesus. The point is there were societal penalties for saying that you saw him.
Oh, absolutely.
That were massive penalties. There was no societal incentive to say that.
The man was just killed by public execution on a cross. Correct. And that's why when Peter was said, when they were like, yo, aren't you that guy? He was like, no. And he said it 3 times definitively. I do not even know the man, because he didn't want to get tangled up in that, because if he was a part of it, and the way that it worked back then, if you were part of an insurrection, like that was it. It was over for you. You and all your people. And that's why when Jesus, when he was in the garden, he asked them if they had a sword. And then he said that they said they had 2 swords or 1 sword. He was like, that's enough, because he was going to get numbered among the transgressors. He was going to that was what the prophecy was. So when the soldiers showed up and there was a sword, it was like, boom, now we have reason to drag him away and to have him crucified. So Jesus was, They all dispersed. All the disciples dispersed. Nobody wanted to be caught hanging on a cross. I mean, Can you imagine? Like, there's so many things, like public speaking. People are afraid of public speaking. People are afraid of this. People are afraid of that. Like, a friggin' crucifixion? Like, what the frig? You saw that? Like, they would kill people. From my understanding, they would pick random people and do random deaths, so that way you always kind of felt like you were.
You were off balance.
It always kept you off balance and full of fear. So you always wanted to follow the laws down to what you absolutely had to. So you're seeing people crucified, just hanging, like not dead, but almost dead, and for long periods of time. And then if they didn't die before the Sabbath, they broke their legs. Like, holy crap, Batman, like, no. So people are not, especially like you said, large groups of people are not going to associate with that, or even say, like you said, if I saw my brother after, I'd shut the fuck up. I would not be announcing that and bring myself to death or my family to death. No.
Yeah. And
they were just regular people. This is the other thing. Like, they were fishermen. They were tax collectors. You know what I mean? They weren't soldiers. They weren't warriors. Like, warriors will go to bat for things that a fisherman is not willing to go to bat for. You know,
correct.
Like for the cause. Like, well, it may have been. You know what I mean? But like a fisherman?
Yeah, 100%.
No.
100%.
That's a no.
We didn't have a lot of. Paul was the highest powered guy we had.
Right, and he wasn't even on that team at that time.
We didn't have a lot of. How the hell did these random fishermen change the entire planet? I mean, it's crazy to me.
Matthew was a tax collector. He was a betrayer to his people. Like,
and that's the thing is like I call it playing the game. I like playing the game, but then like you answer these arguments and they go, oh well, we don't have to think logically. It's like, okay, so now we understand, what the deal is. Okay, so River, I'm on Skype. I'm discoverable as Vin and Sori. So if you call me on Skype, we're going to be able to talk. Reginald McNugget, send me an email about the fear of God, and I'll deal with it. I'm engaging with the homie right now. So once we get that on, but I do want to talk about the song. What were you thinking about the song?
well, I was trying to figure out where his point of view was coming from. So some of it kind of sounded, first of all, I liked the sound of it. Secondly, well, I didn't like the vocal style, but I liked the background stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out.
Hello.
Hey, River, what's up, buddy?
I am doing just fine tonight. This has been a hell of a stream, guys.
Hell of a stream indeed. Perkinos is saying, there was a song? Okay, so go ahead, shoot your shot, River. Talk to us.
So, as far as the argument that we should be having, I'm just trying to recalibrate myself here.
Okay.
I'm not arguing about the idea of a messianic figure who gets a following after death. I understand that. I agree, and I don't see a problem with that point. My point is that is not an uncommon story of a godlike being, either Jesus or others, across multiple religions, from Greek, Norse, various Asian religions as well, from Shintoism as well, coming back from the dead. This is not an uncommon story.
Okay, name the historical figure where that's been the story.
I never specified a historic figure, did I?
Okay. So when you say messianic, I'm not talking about messianic in the general sense. I'm talking about messianic in the specific sense. The concept of Messiah is specifically a Jewish idea, right?
Right.
And we have examples of people who claim to be the Messiah, who died under Roman power, and every single one of those folks, the minute they died, that was the end of their movement. So the question I have for you is, why did the Jesus movement continue after his death when other messianic claimants, their movement died specifically because of their death?
Well, as far as that's concerned, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so that's the argument that I'm making. In just 2 seconds, I'm specifically dealing with what the messianic expectations were, right? So 200 years prior, you had a Gentile or a non-Jewish oppressive force that was oppressing the Jewish people, right? Antiochus was there; he was the main guy, and then the Bar Kokhba boys, Shimon Bar Kokhba, Judas, different guys. The Maccabean boys, Judas Maccabeus, etc. They liberated the Jewish people via violence and weaponry, and Judas Maccabeus rode into town on a donkey with palm branches, which is obviously replicated by Jesus 200 years later. Okay, so my point is, what are the Jewish people thinking when Jesus shows up and he's riding on the donkey with the palm branches? Considering the historical context, what are they thinking that is supposed to signal?
Well, I would assume, based on what you just said, that a similar thing is about to go down.
Correct.
That pretty much they're about to see yet another failure on this Messiah prophecy.
Well, no, the Maccabeans didn't fail. They succeeded in driving out Antiochus and his boys.
Okay, I misunderstood your point there. I'm a little.
No, it's okay. I didn't communicate
100%
that.
100% educated on that history.
No, I didn't communicate that well. That's why you got. Because I was talking about Antiochus and all these other people. What I'm saying is, 200 years prior, right, the Maccabeans overthrew an oppressive, non-Jewish oppressing force, right?
Right.
And they received him with palm branches and he came on a donkey. What I'm saying is, when Jesus does the same thing, what do you think is happening in the Jewish mind? What do you think that that is supposed to signal to them?
Well, if I'm there at the time, I'm thinking, okay, we're about to see the Romans have the yoke that they have over our necks thrown off.
Correct. And then you know what Jesus did?
Right, he got crucified.
Well, before he got crucified, he told them, God is going to destroy your city, and the Gentiles are going to come in to the kingdom before you. So the Jews say, man, fuck this shit. We brought you up to destroy the Romans. Now you're telling us that our place is going to be destroyed and that you're going to save Gentile people? And that's why a week after they were saying, hey, welcome, palm branches, they wanted his blood. They wanted to kill him. Right. So then Jesus dies naked under Roman power.
Right.
And then what you're saying is, in spite of all those expectations, a bunch of fishermen and a tax collector got together and said, okay, guys, we need to make up a story that he rose physically, bodily from the dead. Not some spiritual phantasm, but spiritually, like physically risen from the dead to where you could touch him and eat with him. Let's make up that story. Okay, who are we going to have as the first witnesses for this cockamamie story that we're going to make up, that we're all going to die brutal deaths for a lie that we know is a lie? And then they said, I know, let's get women. Let's have women be the first witnesses, even though their testimony was kind of questionable in court. And let's make sure that we name one of the women as Mary Magdalene, who was known for having 7 demons in her. Is that what you're saying happened?
Again, as far as that's concerned, that does sound like it would be very hard to believe. I agree with you there.
Okay.
Here is where, and again, this is just due to me being perhaps a little uneducated, but also coming in with my own thoughts on why this might work out anyway.
You and I are the same. I'm uneducated, and I have my own thoughts. We're exactly the same. Go ahead.
So, you have multiple years of being ruled over by Romans.
Mm-hmm.
Generations at this point, I would believe, yes?
Yep.
Now, I know from studying history all across modern history that eventually a people will absolutely just not give a shit anymore. They will rally around any cause that gives them a belief that, hey, we might have an out here. Now,
an out in what way?
Well, let's look at, say, the 1905 Russian Revolution. One of the inciting incidents of the Russian Revolution in 1905 was a priest and a number of citizens marched to the Tsar's palace. Not with the intention of violence, mind. They marched to present a list of requests of the Tsar. They wanted help. Essentially, can you give our people more food? The Tsar had already left. The priest and multiple civilians were shot down dead. The priest and his people end up martyrs of a cause to remove the yoke that is controlling these people. Now, as far as the death of Jesus Christ, it's very possible that a number of Jews, despite maybe not liking what he had said, as you said, Gentiles getting into the kingdom of heaven first, perhaps they thought his death might be a great rallying cry to get people to join us. And maybe the time was just
join us
right
to do wait. Join us to do what though? Because in your situation with the Russian analogy, that was to stop the Tsar from being such a, horrible person while the rest of his people were suffering. And we know what happened to the Tsar when he didn't listen to those folks, right?
Well, that happened much later in the Second Revolution. Yes.
Okay. So what? So we've got an oppressive force. What benefit is the rallying cry around Jesus? Because Jesus wasn't the only person that was crucified. There were thousands of Jews that were crucified. So what is significant about rallying around Jesus in order to overthrow Roman occupation? Is that what you're saying, that he was a figurehead to overthrow the Romans?
I'm thinking that to a degree, for at least a few of them, that might have been what was going through their heads.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Did Jesus ever even imply that he was going to overthrow the Romans? Did he ever tell his followers that?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Didn't he tell his followers that in order to follow him, they had to be crucified? Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me? Isn't that true?
I do not remember that exact verse.
Yeah, he says if anyone wants to be...
It's been a hot minute since I've read that particular Bible chapter, I would guess.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. You guys know more... I don't want to say that because I don't want to diss my brothers. But you guys are very educated in this stuff. So look, Matthew 16:24, Jesus says, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Now, there it is for everybody else to see. So he was promising his followers a brutal, slow, painful, humiliating death, right?
Okay.
He wasn't telling them that we're going to overthrow Rome. Have you ever wondered why Peter, who one moment was willing to use a sword and attack while there's about 100 Romans there? Have you ever wondered why one minute he was so brave to attack and the next minute he was such a coward and he ran for his life? What accounts for that difference? Well, here's what I'd say. What I'd say was, even though Jesus was saying, take up your cross and be good to the Romans, yada, yada, yada. You know the whole extra mile thing, right? We've talked about the extra mile thing.
I believe so, yeah. You
know, where the Romans could force you to carry their 85-pound packs in the Mediterranean heat for a full mile. They could force you to do that. Mm-hmm. So when Jesus says, walk another mile, what he's saying is help the Roman another mile. Mm-hmm. Then he says, take up your cross and follow me. Now, legally speaking, the Jews were not able to crucify anyone. They could stone you, but they couldn't crucify you. Only the Romans were crucifying people. So when Peter's in the garden, he's got his sword out. He's like, yeah, Jesus, you're saying all this nice shit, man. But when them boys roll up on you, you're gonna stop with this hippie bullshit and we're gonna go to war.
Yep.
So Peter goes and attacks the guy, and then Jesus maintains the thing and says, no, I'm not fighting anybody.
Maintains and heals the guy's ear.
Correct. And then he says, now that you've got me, let these go. And the minute... Have you ever wondered how curious both Judas and Peter's reaction was when Jesus wouldn't fight back? Both of them went into a meltdown. When Judas saw that Jesus wouldn't fight back, he went off and killed himself. When Peter saw that Jesus wouldn't fight back, he almost killed himself. So my point is, you've got to explain to me how a people, every single one of them had the expectation, even up to the night that he was crucified, that he was going to be some giant warrior. And then you've got women discovering the body, and then one of those women is known around the city for having severe mental illness. Mm-hmm. And you're saying that these guys got together and they said, yup, that's going to be the story. And that's going to convince everybody.
Again, fair enough.
I mean, we don't even believe women today.
You're not wrong there.
We're in the third wave of feminism in the Western world. And we still can't believe women when they say shit. This is 2,000 years ago, and those are the people you come up to find a resurrection?
Again, not denying that any of that does sound extremely hard to believe. You're not wrong there.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, right? Like, you know, I have a really, really, really hard time. Really hard time with that. Have you seen Celsus? Have we talked about Celsus?
What is that?
So Celsus is a guy that used to mock Christianity, and he was a skeptic, and he said some really interesting things, and I want to read it to you because It's one of my, favorite kind of statements. Okay. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, check this out. This is Celsus, and he's mocking Christianity. Okay, and I'm going to say rightly so, even though I'm a Christian. Okay.
Hold on. Vlad says it's not the job of people who don't believe to give explanations for everything you think is mysterious about your own faith.
Well, I don't think it's mysterious. That's my point.
Right.
It's not a mystery to me. It makes the reason that women are there is not a mystery. It's because the women were there. And trust me, I'm certain that Matthew did not want to mention that Mary Magdalene was the one with the 7 demons, but he had to because that's what happened. Mm-hmm. It's not a mystery to me, Vlad. You're the one saying that they made the story up. So you have to explain, based on your initial premise that they made the story up, why they did such a horrible job while simultaneously being so successful.
Right.
Because it's a bad story, as River's honestly telling us. River, here's what Celsus wrote about Jesus, okay? For having said a little before that Jesus appeared secretly to one woman and his own boon of companions, he immediately subjoins, while undergoing his punishment, this is Celsus talking about Jesus, he was seen by all men, but after his resurrection by one, whereas the opposite ought to have happened. So what he's saying is, notice he's talking about all men, and he was only seen by one man. Well, Celsus doesn't have the whole story, but notice Celsus' issue is that it's women who are the primary witnesses of the resurrection, and to him, that is a death knell of Christianity in his mind, because that's what they thought of women. So, I've never heard a single person even begin to address why people in the ancient world were looking for women as the first viewers of the resurrection. I've never seen anybody even try to attempt to answer that. So River, can I ask you a question?
Go right ahead.
River, what would it take for you to believe that Jesus died for your sins and rose from the dead on the third day?
What would it actually take for me to believe?
Yep.
I would have to have the same kind of experiences that I have had when I have made prayers to Thor and Odin.
Okay, but how do you know? So you got a positive answer from praying to Thor and Odin, which I don't disagree. I'm sure that's happened for you. But how do you know? Like, if I was God, right, and I loved you, right, and you were praying to a false god, but I loved you, does it stand to reason that I could still answer that prayer?
Sure, but again, and I hate to point this out, this does not disprove the experiences that I have had.
My brother.
Where I have seen what I believe, at least, to be signs.
My brother, I'm not discounting I'm affirming them. What I'm saying is, I believe that you've seen all those things and had those answers. My question is, how do you know that that's Thor and not Yahweh who's overlooking your idolatry? That's my question. And the other question I would ask you is, have you even considered that as a possibility?
Sure.
So you have considered that as a possibility.
It's certainly a possibility, but I could
No, that's
say
not
the
my question.
Thing.
That's not my question. My question is, have you ever considered that as a possibility before this discussion?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Good. So
I say this to point out that I could get the exact same question from a Hellenist, saying, why do you believe that it is Odin and not Hermes answering your prayer?
Yeah, the difference is I have a physical human being who made a claim to be God and has a resurrection, right? They don't have that. And neither do you.
Sure.
Okay, so it is different. Right?
Again, if we accept wholesale the entire story being that. Now, I'm not saying that
Accept what
true.
now? I'm sorry, say that again?
If we accept that the story is wholesale, completely, 100% factual, being dead. I'm not saying that that's not possible. I don't discount that because I've had too many experiences in my lifetime at this point where I believe that some form of, I don't even want to say supernatural, because if it happened, I am of the opinion that anything that happens has to be some form of nature at work.
Yes, I'm with you there. I believe that whatever we've seen or read as quote-unquote supernatural, if we had enough time, we would be able to scientifically explain how that happened. I'm 100% with you. But can you go back to that question though?
Which one? The one on if a god would perhaps answer the prayer anyway?
Yeah. So if Yahweh is there and he truly loves you, and you're paying to Odin, and he knows that Odin is, let's say Odin is a rebellious demon that should be leading you to Yahweh, but is now taking the worship for himself. So let's say that that's the situation that you're in, but Yahweh looks at you and he knows what you're praying and he knows how desperately you need it. Do you think that Yahweh, if he's really a father, would say, man, fuck that guy, River, or fuck them? Sorry, River. I'm saying them, specifically talking about you. You think God be up there and say, man, fuck them? Or do you think God might say, damn, River's in a bad situation. Even though they're not praying to me, I'm going to go ahead and answer the prayer. If God was a father, which one would he do?
Well, I would assume that if he is indeed all good and considers me one of his children, probably answer the prayer. However,
okay.
And while I'll grant you that, I could then say, and this is something that among us polytheists, we have these discussions ourselves from time to time, where we ask these questions about why do Hellenists believe in this particular set of gods, where Norse pagans believe in this set of gods.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us have come to a sort of, and this is more of just a theory among us, that they're all aspects of the same being. That essentially, where Odin and Hermes have these various similar connections, they're really pretty much the same being.
Well, I mean, we see the same thing in the Bible, right? You have El, who is presiding over a council, and El has a son named Baal, and Baal rides the clouds, and he's the thunder god, right?
Right.
Well, what do you have in the Bible? You have Yahweh, who is the head of the council. He has a son, and that son rides on the clouds, etc. Right? Like so, and that's why I was talking about Perkinos's guy. Literally, the guy's name is Perkinos, and he's a thunder god, and he's second in command to another god. So what I'm saying is, I agree across the board. It seems that we have this template, right? So I'm with you. I'm with the Norse guys. I'm with all of you guys on that. I'm with the ancient Near Eastern guys. I'm with Perkinos's crew. I believe that. What I'm saying is, how do we know? How do we know that Yahweh isn't the head of that entire council? Like, I believe, by the way, I don't think I've ever really said this explicitly publicly. I believe there's a being out there that is Odin and all these other gods. I believe that there are out there. And
I think you did say it publicly
I think biblically speaking, you can easily make an argument for that. My question is, how do you know that you're on the right team, River? That's my issue.
Well, again, and that's kind of the issue where we might end up hitting an impasse here, because, as you would probably say, I have to take it a bit on faith here.
Well, we all do.
Because I know what I've seen. I know what, when I have felt a desperate need to pray for something, and I've had a decent time. I'm turning 30 in a few days here. I've had a decent amount of time to have these experiences happen to me. When I have made various prayers and sacrifices to Odin and Thor and Loki, sometimes it absolutely works out. Sometimes whatever I'm focusing on turns out right. I can point to when I was trying to get a job, and I made a prayer to Thor and an offering to him, and it worked out. The interview went well.
Have you ever prayed to Jesus?
I did.
When?
For a time, I actually was in a church with my grandmother and her family.
Mm-hmm.
And again, nothing ever really worked out there. I don't know why. I can't say that I don't think I gave it the old college try. I got baptized.
Well, you definitely gave it the old college try if you got baptized, bro. Right? Like, yep. I don't understand why Christians always have to invalidate people's attempts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think it's because they don't know how to explain why the attempt didn't work, So it's easy to say.
But I can tell you right now, I have next to me right now a copy of the Prose Edda, the Poetic Edda, the Quran, and the Bible, all on top of each other.
Yep.
Because I do sometimes go back to all of the above to do some reading.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great. Okay. Well, I loved our discussion. So what you're saying is it's true. Jesus is his story has a lot stacked against it for it to have worked in that time period is what I'm hearing from you.
Absolutely. I can 100% agree with you there.
Okay.
I can't say for certain whether I know if that proves it or not.
Yep. Nope. That's cool. And by the way, I'm about to put a Celsius quote up here, and sorry, ladies, if you're offended, but there's nothing I can do about it. The second century critics mocked the idea of Mary Magdalene as an alleged resurrection witness, referring to her as a hysterical female deluded by sorcery. Okay.
Rude.
So that that right there is what the first Christians had to deal with anytime they talk about the resurrection. Mm-hmm. So what I would have to believe, you're not saying this, River, I'm just saying what I would have to believe is that these guys came together, came up with the story that this guy rose from the dead, even though nobody had any expectations of it. The Jews didn't have an expectation of a physical resurrection before Judgment Day. Nobody had it. And N.T. Wright makes that pretty clear. So they come together and come up with this crazy story about a resurrection. They say, okay, who are we going to have as the first witnesses? Now, they had Joseph of Arimathea on the team. Nope, let's not use him. Let's not use Nicodemus. Both of these guys were highly respected in the religious social strata of the time period, right? Nicodemus was at the top of the religious order. Joseph of Arimathea was at the top of the economic social order. Why not have those two men be the witnesses of the resurrection?
Again, a fine question, and one that who knows the reasoning other than either A, it happened, B, someone's an idiot and doesn't know how to tell a proper story, at least based on when the time and period it's set.
Well, that doesn't work, right? Because they blew up.
Reason.
They blew up. Here's my problem. Let's say it was bad and they came up with a dumb story. They created the largest religion of all time. So obviously it worked. Right?
Sounds like some producers level shit right there.
Yeah. So what I would say is, River, I think all of us are on a journey. I don't think anybody would have the audacity to say that we've all got it figured out, right?
Right.
I certainly wouldn't. And that's the reason I try to familiarize myself with the Quran and Hinduism and all the rest of it, is because I hate when people get on here and talk about shit that they don't know about. So I'm going to be an eternal student of the Quran and Buddhism and Hinduism and all the rest of it. Because I think that that's important. I think, River, that you're a pretty connected individual to that world, and so I think there's some people that just kind of have a radio frequency tuned in, and you're one of those folks. And I think, River, if you look yourself in the mirror today for a good solid 30 seconds and said, "Am I willing to go with the truth wherever it leads and whatever it means about the life that I want to live?" And that's not a question I'm asking you for you to answer in front of other people. I'm challenging you to look yourself in the mirror for 30 seconds and ask yourself that question, and then just look at yourself to see what the real answer is, because I think that might surprise you. I do that drill a lot, looking in the mirror for 30 seconds. Very uncomfortable.
Vin?
I saw you do it last night.
I'll say this much. I've done that before. A lot of times, especially when I need to tell myself some good things about myself, because sometimes, especially when you live as someone who's non-binary, it's hard.
Yep.
Being able to just accept yourself sometimes.
100%. 100%.
I'll tell you what. I'll do that tonight before I go to bed. But let me ask you something. If I were to send you a copy of the Prose Edda and the Poetic Edda, would you read them?
100%. I would. 100% I would.
You'd probably read them both in one night.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? Once I have some more money together, I'll buy a second copy, and I'm pretty sure I can find your P.O. box, no problem.
Yep.
Yeah, hit me an email. I might give you. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I gotta.
It sounds like a deal.
I gotta say, River, if you have a genuine pursuit for truth, which it sounds like you do, and it sounds like you've been journeying and searching for quite some time, you will not be disappointed come the end of all things.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're not wrong there. As far as this song, by the way, just because I know we're still doing a song review technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all.
Yeah. So hey, Riv, do you mind?
I loved this song.
Riv, do you mind staying and doing the review with us?
I'm not against it.
Okay, let's do it. And then Perk, we'll talk offline, and you tell me how much of this you want edited out on the YouTube version of this, because we completely hijacked your live stream. Holy shit! All right, so what did you think about the musician?
Sorry, Perk, but by the way, happy birthday!
Happy freaking birthday to Perk! This is a bonus song too, so the bonus song went longer than the entire fucking stream. Okay, so Riv, Riv, tell me your thoughts, man, about the musicianship of the song.
Oh God, it was so fucking heavy. I loved it. That guitar.
Yeah, you guys know, like, I'm biased towards like guitar featured song because I'm the
100%.
guitarist. So I want songs that feature the guitar. That's I love. That was my favorite part of this. Was the guitar work. It was just really, really good. What I appreciated the most about Perk's selections was. And again, this might be, I need to, recalibrate my neurons or whatever. But I'm not a fan of the low caliber black metal shit.
No, I'm not either.
I'm okay with the low production. I'm okay with low production, but I'm not okay with low caliber. Every single one of those songs, the musicianship was on point.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Every single one of them. And like that's why I can't really rock with the I can deal with avant-garde music, but I can't rock with, you know what I'm saying, Riv? What is your thoughts on the low production, but from my vantage point, low musicianship type black metal? Am I just crazy or?
Okay.
Go ahead.
I will say that you are not crazy, but then again, I have a very different kind of music I like. I like, fast-paced punk rock more than I like, more than I like black metal. I will say, every song here, banger, 100%, beginning to end. I have not heard a song on this stream I've disliked. All of them are going on to a playlist on Spotify tomorrow, and I'm going to listen to more because Perk has good taste.
Wow, that's cool.
Well, what's amazing to me is that. Like, he comes on, he's like, yeah, that was this war and this person, and he knows all these people's names and all the shit, and then he just phases into, yeah, they were in the 4/4 song structure, blah, 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 and we're all just, like, drooling, like, yeah, Perk Shaw!
Okay, yeah.
Unbelievable stuff. Okay, what do you rate, what do you rate the song?
Oh, this was a solid 9.8 for me.
Yeah. This song was hard, and it was... Obviously, it was challenging for me as a Christian because I'm like looking at the lyrics. I'm like, but then I'm like, yo, man, just sit back and fucking enjoy the music, enjoy the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Because it was like you're gonna deconstruct all the Jesus stuff in the lyrics. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows what's coming.
Pow, pow, pow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like shut up.
Was something intense.
Yeah, just shut up and enjoy the music. So like, I'm looking at the video and I'm like. Half of the time I'm rocking, then half the time I'm like, the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
All right, bro. What do you rate the song?
He already did.
Tell us again.
9.8. This was a solid 9.8 for me. What about you?
Would you give it?
Well, I didn't like the vocal style, so that kind of brought it down for me to like a 8.
You're the worst. An 8.
Look at you.
No, I'm trying to validate your false accusations from yesterday. No. This is a not at minimum a 9.7. Obviously, I'm not going to give it a 10.
Mark, what is it to you?
I'm not going to give it a 10 after what they said about the big homie. But I really like the song.
He said something over there too. If you can post that up.
Just to give more info on the band, Morris Dalos Ray isn't a Christian, but is heavily influenced by Kabbalah and Sethian Gnosticism. Yeah, this guy knew his stuff. Like he was going back and forth between Aramaic, Greek, Hebrew, and unless you knew your Bible, like I'm going to show you guys lyrically some of what he did, because only Perkinos would be able to catch all the shit that this dude was saying. So when he says here, obviously he talks about the Ein Sof, and anybody who knows, who's been around the channel, knows about the Ein Sof. So when
River, this phone might hang up on you because it's dying.
Oh well, yeah. Oh, I thought River was gone because they already gave their rating. All right, River, say River out to the people.
Guys, have a good evening.
Say River out.
River out.
Yeah! Not like you, perky corny bastard. Okay, so when he says, when Tohu reigned, the world was not. So remember we talked about this when it says that the earth was without form and void, and it's Tohu Lavohu, right? So Tohu means like formlessness or chaos. Remember we were talking about like the chaos type of Satanism? Void was chaos, and Ein Sof. So Ein Sof would be the limitless light. That would be God in his essence. So there was void, it was void and chaotic inside God himself. That's what he's saying.
Oh.
Yeah. No human shall see me and live. Darkness reigning in the abyss. It says darkness is on the face of the deep. Right? So
that would actually be very troubling to me.
Go ahead. If God internally was chaotic?
Yes, I don't want that. I don't like that.
Yeah, it would be a disaster.
Yeah.
That would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually...
He seems chaotic to us at times because we can't wrap our minds fully around what he's doing. But I do believe at the end of it, it's not chaos, but it's...
Well...
It's very calculated.
God's first act, really, is not...
Was to bring order out of chaos.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I like that about him.
To be an organizing... Stigmata on Sabbath Eve from 3 to 9, the cross is mine.
Yeah, obviously. He's the man for anybody that's OCD.
Who?
God. Because he brings order. Order, I say! Order!
It says, he says, through horror entered Bethlehem. Mm-hmm. That would be Jesus, right? All the cherubim sighed in vain as Naaman came with Tubal Cain.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, Tubal Cain is mentioned in Genesis. Tears of fear shed by his Talmudim as he cried at Gat Shamanim. So his Talmudim would be his disciples.
Oh, okay.
You know, like the Talmud?
Yep.
So the Talmudim, it's the plural of that. And then as he cried blood at Gat Shamanim, that would be Gethsemane.
That's what I thought it was too, yep.
Yeah.
Why is he saying it in a different way?
Well, I think, I do that too. Like you phase in between because it calls attention because the person doesn't know it.
It did. It worked.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
So he kind of made half of it up?
No, they're all there. Everything he said was right.
No, I'm saying that I've never heard it Gethsemane said like that.
Oh no, that's how it. If you look at your logos when you go to the original.
Okay. All right. So he went with Hebrew?
No, that's Aramaic.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's Aramaic.
All right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. He goes between Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. Like Tohu is Hebrew, and then Aramaic was that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's just really, and then Talitha Kum, you know what that is? The girl was when she died
to raise up, yeah.
And he said she's only sleeping, and they were like, no, she's dead. They started mocking Jesus. He's like, get everybody out of the room. How's that? Get out. So he kicks everybody out, and then he looks at the girl and says Talitha Kum, which Talitha Kum means little girl wake up, basically. Little girl arise.
I always would look at that phrase and see if there was a name that you could glean from that
John
to name
Piper
a child.
adopted his daughter. He named her Talitha. So
yeah,
Kum means get up, rise. So he
yeah.
just named her Talitha, which means just little girl, basically. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really, 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 really good stuff. Really good stuff. As far as lyrically, this guy knows his stuff, and this guy's like, people were talking about Behemoth, and I would agree with that. This is like a Behemoth level, sort of like super intellectual. Not the typical. We're gonna storm the gates.
Really,
of hell.
you thought as deep as Behemoth?
Yeah.
Lyrics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I probably didn't understand enough of them to realize that.
Yeah,
it was deep like that.
Yeah. I would say so, 100%.
Wow.
He's going between Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek. It makes a lot of logical sense. He's not just throwing them out to be impressive. They made sense in the song. And he did a really, really good job with the inversion. I thought that this is some of the... So, when we first started the channel, there was a lot of the shock value, like, holy shit, I can't believe you just said this blasphemous thing.
Yeah.
Then after a while, it was like, oh, let me guess, you're going to storm the gates of heaven. You're going to cut off Gabriel's wings. You're going to...
Babe, was there a song that said
take
that?
the incense and mix it with ganja and smoke it on God's throne. Oh. You know what I'm saying?
You making these up?
It's just... You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
That shit is dumb as hell, bro.
Mix it with ganja.
Yeah, it's like... Nigga, if you was that strong, nigga, how did you get thrown out in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, really.
You see what I'm saying? Like, how come? And it wasn't even like Yahweh kicked you out. It was a little guy, Michael, kicked you out, bro.
Oh, God.
And you got beat up by one of them little guys, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, as a person who truly believes that God is God Almighty, when I hear this stuff, I'm like, it's just funny. It's funny to me.
I know.
It's not offensive to me. It's just funny to me. Like, people go, oh, are you offended? I'm like, Jesus can defend himself. I don't need to.
Yep.
Got my Muslim friends. Muslims, you say something about Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like, they'll kill you.
I mean, it's an ant playing basketball.
Not all Muslims. I'm just saying, like, you saw what happened with Charlie Hebdo.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't do that shit. Mm-hmm. Well, we shouldn't do that shit. And the reason is the Bible says, leave room for the wrath of God. Mm-hmm. So I feel... If I ever take, there are a couple times, like Watain, for example, when I take the lyrics seriously, it inspires me to pray for that person. So, because I'm worried about them, I'm not offended, because if we're right, and he really did rise from the dead, then he's the baddest man on the block. So you have a problem. Yeah. So, like, it doesn't offend me. So, like, looking at these lyrics, I'm like, okay, this guy, that's when I began to really appreciate, your Nergals of the world. Danny Filth kind of goes into we're going to storm heaven and blah, blah, blah. But, like, knowing when I look at these guys and I go, man, they really studied. Mm-hmm. He really knows what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. You could tell that Nergal has put in the work and that he's in his Bible a bunch. And... you can tell that he's really thinking it, and they're not just saying shit for shock value. Mm-hmm. And that's what I appreciated about this song. I do believe that this was Nergal level intellect in this songwriting. I really believe that.
What's your score for it then?
I said I didn't give it a 9.7?
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I gave it a 9.7. It was one of the best.
Perk, what do you give this one?
Best written songs in this genre, I would say.
Wow.
Condratable. I'm going to answer that question as soon as I close this review, bro. I wasn't ignoring you. Okay, there you go. That's
he gave it a 9.8.
9.8 out of 10. Okay, yep. Okay. Perk. Really
Happy birthday, stream. Buddy. Thanks for sharing your birthday with us.
Happy birthday, bro. Happy birthday. I'm just going to talk about Perk for a little bit here before we sign off. Perkanos, I think the thing that I love about Perkanos the most is you can tell, it's kind of like what I just said about this guy. Like, you can tell that the man has familiarized himself with the important, the iconic ideas, thought processes, whatever you want to say about Western culture. Mm-hmm. And we're in a day and age, it's kind of ironic. We're in a day and age when you have so much available to you as far as knowledge.
Oh, my word, I know.
And yet, we're also in a day and age when people have this strange idea that they have knowledge that they really don't. The Dunning-Kruger thing.
Yeah.
And so, Perkanos, to me, is a guy who, as a person who has stayed up till 3 or 4 in the morning and has to wake up and go to work and all the rest of it, for years, but having that thirst for knowledge. I know how hard it is to get that knowledge and retain it. And I know the type of work that happens when you have a real life and when you have to do that. And so when I see a guy like him, I just admire the hell out of that, especially considering the kid's, he's 25 years old.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, obviously a very gifted dude. And it's just been a dude we can lean on in the channel as far as moderation goes and things like that. So,
and facts too. Whenever he posts something, I automatically like, there's very few people that I'm like that with.
Yeah. You look for him.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, if he said that, it's probably more than likely true. It's like whenever you say something, I'm like, nah, more than likely it's true. Sometimes I question something you say and I'll look into it myself. But most of the time I feel like, okay. Because I think some people want to sound smart and some people want to be smart, but they don't want to do the work involved to get there.
It's work.
And so they'll just kind of get some facts or kind of have things randomly put and they'll like kind of throw it out there like they know everything about shit.
Yeah.
And then there are some people that they drop facts and it doesn't seem like they're trying to be like, ooh, everybody, see how smart I am. It's just about their pursuit of truth and they want to, share that and build off that and stuff like that. And I really appreciate people like that are genuine truth seekers.
Yeah, Perk always fills in the gaps.
Yeah.
Or
and he fills in your gaps sometimes too, which is always shocking to me.
100%. Or he'll correct something.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
Yeah, so if I say something and I'm kind of like iffy on it, I'll make sure to look at the stream for Perk. Okay, guys, it's Perkinos. It's Perkinos' birthday. I don't even know if the homie's still in the room, but it's Perkinos' birthday. So let's go. Perkinos.
Perkinos.
It's your birthday.
It's your birthday.
It's your birthday, buddy.
Buddy, old pal.
Buddy, old pal.
This is the worst.
You're the best.
Better than the rest.
Except for me, I'm better than thee.
Don't you see?
We're done.
That was a disaster, babe. That was so horrible. Happy birthday. Don't let the quality of the song make you think we don't like you and we think you're trash.
The guitar just died. That's 11 out of 10, bitches.
Believe it or not.
That is the best birthday song of all time. Much love to my brother Perkinos. Love you, buddy. Hugs and kisses.
Yeah, we are going to come out with a song soon.
Hey, just be secure in your manhood, bro. We good.
He's going to do the guitar. I'm going to do the vocals. Don't you think this is going to be great? What are you guys going to rate it?
As soon as I see the homie, I'm giving him a hug as soon as I see the homie. I just want to see him like Critch. We got to have me, Perk, Ben, Lilo, and Brian Walker.
Yeah, exactly. And Perkinos, how dare you not say Perkinos out when we had to do that humiliating song.
Perk out! All right. Much love to my guy Perkinos. Much love to all of you guys. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you to Tina.
Yep.
Get well soon, Tina Benita.
Boom, 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 boom.
Me and Dorian were going fishing. We were talking about you. Boom, boom. Goth Mom. Shout out to BC. BC just said Christianity is the worst religion. That means he's going to be a Christian by next year. Yay! Shout out to Perk. We're going to go play Fortnite and do other things. I'm out of here.